everyone. Welcome to today's live with TLR Now. TLR is a platform that provides us customized services for coaching, training, and mentoring, basically helping you become a better version of yourself. I'm Rewa. I will be anchoring this live today with Sanjeev. Sanjeev is a happiness coach. He is also a avid traveler, a biker. He has traveled about 40 lakh kilometers across India. And he's going to share with us those stories and tell us how we can manage our stress while staying happy. Hi, Sanjeev. Welcome.
Hi Reva, thank you so much for that introduction. Just a small correction, not 40 lakhs, 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs is ज़्यादा
Sorry.
है in fact.
Sorry.
Yeah,
हाँ
I'm
मतलब
I'm
yeah,
very sure
correct.
lot of my fellow bikers are watching it. It's like साला ये कितना कब घूम के आया? Just kidding. Yes, thank you so much. It's absolutely fantastic to be here, and I'm very sure that we'll be having a very interesting discussion today for our audience.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself?
Good question. You see, I mean, I'm a salesperson, but I'm very shy about speaking about myself, but I will do that. So, like you said, I am a happiness coach. I've kind of delved into the subject of happiness for the last couple of years. It has been a new find for me. But to take it seriously, I did some certifications also to deep dive into the subject. Other than that, I do sales. Like I told you earlier, I'm a salesperson and I'm very proud salesperson. I like to coach a lot of companies on sales and also at the senior level when it comes to selling SaaS-based products from the HR fraternity. And that has given me a lot of insight into the HR space as well as learning and development. Other than that, the travel part of it, of course, is a big part of who I am and what I do. And the travels, of course, because of not only on the motorcycle, but even work-related travel or anything that we do, right, gives us stories, and that has also
Yeah.
made me a story man or a storyteller, kind of a title that I would give myself. So, very small introduction. I think it is there on the screen itself. Those four words define me the most.
Okay. Um, so, Sanjeev, today we'll be talking about happiness in general and how that helps us manage stress. So, how would you say you define happiness? I know that there are lots of definitions out there. Everybody has their own definition of happiness. So, as a coach, how do you define it?
I know. I mean, this is a question that I get asked every time I say that I'm a happiness coach. People ask me, "अच्छा अभी आप going to do?"
Um,
Right? So very clearly, so happiness doesn't have a definition, Deva. I mean, it does have, from the psychological perspective, it has two aspects to it, right? One is uh, the necessity of you feeling some positive emotions, and the positive emotions uh, more than the negative emotions, right? That the
right.
frequency of you feeling positive emotions is more. And the second aspect of it is that you're content with where your life is going. You have some future vision, and all those things. So if you are scoring higher on all these things, psychologically, I'm not a psychological student, but given I've delved into this subject, psychologically, these are the two main aspects that we look at. One is whether you are feeling positive emotions, and the second part is how satisfied or contented you are. But for a
Okay.
very common understanding, happiness is actually not an emotion. Okay, so that's a paradox of it. Uh,
Okay.
in fact, modern science is trying to define happiness and put it into this shell of what we could do and not do, and these are the emotions, the positive, these are negative, and the happiness subject itself stems from positive psychology, right? So there is a reason that positive psychology is called positive psychology because typically when psychology starts
Okay. I think
on
Sanjeev
why
has
people are
gotten
behaving in
stuck.
a certain way, and they get
Sanjeev, could you repeat the last line? You're frozen a little bit.
okay. Is it okay now? I'm having some
Yeah,
serious
you're
issues
fine.
from
You're
my side.
fine. You're fine now.
Okay. I was just saying that positive psychology was called positive psychology because of the earlier psychology was just used to diagnose what's wrong with people, right?
Yes.
So then people found out that positive psychology is important because there are all if you feel bad or there are certain things that are negative, there is also positivity, right? So it
Correct.
comes from that part. So the modern science has helped us put into these definitions into place. But if I
Right.
go back, right, there's this very interesting historian who talks about happiness called Darren McMahon. So when you hear him, he speaks about how happiness, when you go back in age, right, a lot of our modern concepts are getting actually reinforced now because of what people believe are here also. And somebody like
Yeah.
Aristotle at that time had told that happiness is nothing but a set of activities, and it is all about living a well-lived life. And that has, so
Right.
if you say that, if you look at it from a perspective of that, it becomes not an emotion for a particular moment, not an emotion for a particular situation, not an emotion for something going good or something going bad, but across your entire life, how well have you lived? That is a measure of happiness. So
Would you,
because the,
sorry to cut you, but would you also say that happiness is could be a state of mind? Like it is basically a choice that we make every day, right? To be happy or to feel
absolutely, yes,
happy, as people call it. Um,
yes,
so,
yes.
I mean, if you say that over a period of our lives, staying satisfied and having a positive state of mind is what leads to happiness. I haven't lived all my life yet. So up till now, it's basically up to me today and now what how I decide to live my life. Correct,
We
Sanjeev?
need to, okay, am I audible now?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so sorry for this.
It's
Right. So
fine.
one of the major things that we need to realize is happiness does not mean euphoria. Okay, I'm not
Okay.
going to be jumping around happy like a crazy monkey all around saying that मैं बहुत खुश हो गया हूँ आज. So that is also one of the states that you could get into. So happiness as a part of it is also experiencing the lows of your life. But like you said,
Right.
a choice of what I need and what am I going to do about that low in my life is something that will come in uh, as something that when you can describe it like happiness is a state of mind, right? And that
Yeah.
is why we say that it's a choice because
Right.
over if you're looking at happiness from a perspective of that I need to be happy always, then it is not going to be something that is going to work for you. It will stress you out, and that is why
Correct.
people said that it is a measure of how well you have lived your life, and throughout your life you will be making choices, right? Whether
Right.
how do I react to certain situation or not react to certain situation. So that's how it keeps
Correct.
evolving as an entire process rather than something like at a particular state of at a particular stage of your life how you're feeling. So yes, it's a
Right.
state of mind, but it's a choice that you guys have.
Correct. So how would you say that happiness can, or these just the principles of being happy can help us in managing our stress?
See, I'll tell you a story. Okay. So typically, what happens? A lot of experiences have happened for me when we are riding out. Uh, right. So this is one specific example that I remember. Where I ride with a group called the Musafirs. They're based out of Mumbai. And we had in the last year we had gone to Ladakh and we were just climbing up the Khardungla. Now Khardungla is in fact one of the most toughest climbs up. And if it snows, then it becomes hell on earth. Right? Typically, that's what the
Okay.
scenario is. And when you are on your motorcycle, it becomes more trickier to actually maneuver it. And when you're and add to it the dynamics of a group, that the things are much more difficult anyways, right? So when we were climbing up, there is this one person whose bike fell down once, it fell down twice,
Okay.
and
Okay, I'm sorry that we're facing this difficulty right now. But please do send in your questions till Sanjeev comes back. I know that his screen is currently frozen, but please. Sorry, Sanjeev, I think you're frozen again. We were
yeah,
in the
I could.
middle of your story.
Yes, I don't know
Um,
where you heard, but let me just start again by apologizing again for the technical glitches today that we are facing, right? But so just to continue the story, we will. So just when we were climbing up Kardunga, right? A bike fell down once and twice, and the second time the bike did not start at all. Uh, and
right.
then we had a choice, and it was snowing heavily. I mean, it was snowing. So normally they don't let us go, but once we had started the climb, we started
Like, yeah, it's fine. It's
right.
fine. We've
So
heard. We've heard till it was snowing, and
Yes,
y'all had to make a choice at that point. We've heard till then.
absolutely. Yeah. So the choice that we had to make was whether to take what to do with the bike, right? So now
Right.
this was a choice that the rider needs to make. We as leaders in the group need to make. The choice that we finally made was if we're going to leave the bike there and go. Right now, there are immediate stressors. One is, of course, for us as a group, it's a stressor. The person whose bike was not starting, he had the very difficult choice to leave his bike in the middle of the road where it is snowing and go.
Right.
And the leader had to make a choice between whether to try and start the bike or load the bike into the breakdown vehicle and risk further health problems, or just leave the bike and go. So his choice was
Right.
the most difficult. Now, after giving it a thought for a couple of minutes, right, we just decided we're going to leave the bike and we went. Now, immediately at that point in time, the reaction was, of course, a little bit low for everyone. But by the time we passed Khardunda, we went on the other side. We realized, that was the right thing to do at that point in time, and we knew we continued with what to do next, right? What was a stressor for us just maybe half an hour earlier became something that did not bother us that much by the time we decided to make the choice that this is not going to bother us. We are going to find solutions to it,
Correct.
including the person actually whose bike was left behind. All of us came together and we ensured that the bike was shipped to Chandigarh from that location in the next couple of days. Right. So this is one of the examples where what we go through might be extremely stressing for you, right? But it is that choice that you make in the particular moment where you realize that, what do I want to do with this? Either I can, stay stressed or depressed about it, or I can make a choice to just move ahead. That is what it
Right. But would you also say that the fact that if you make a choice to not focus on the stressor, and you make a choice to say have a positive mindset in that scenario, does that help us through getting through the stress better?
So it is not about trying to negate the situation, right? That is
Right.
right. The idea is not to kind of tell yourself, say that, yeah, this is okay, every situation is fine, we'll go through, ye hota rehta hai, there's nothing. We are not trying to be positive always. We are accepting the negativity and trying to find solutions and how to make it into a positive experience for us, right? So
Right.
even though it starts with a negative stressor or a negative experience, just by thinking a little bit more deeper and making the conscious decision, saying that we are not going to go ahead and stress out because of this, makes it easier for us, right?
Right.
Uh, if that answers your question.
Yeah, that does. When we were talking earlier, Sanjeev, you mentioned something about Tathata. Is that how you pronounce it? You'd
Yeah,
said
Thatata,
something along
yeah,
the. Yeah.
yeah.
Would you like to tell our viewers today what that is?
So that's a Buddhist principle, right? That basically means suchness. Suchness is what, or basically it just means as is, accept things as they are. Right now, this
Right.
is because this is a Buddhist principle. It may come across as extremely philosophical as well as spiritual, but it is not, right? In a certain way, a lot of practicality. Even if you go back in your life, there will be instances in your life, Reva, where you had
Yeah.
taken decisions which which was simplified because you just decided at one point in time saying that, yeah, Joe has so hai. Let's just figure out what we need to do next, right? So this particular statement that we say that that Joe has so hai, let's just move ahead, is what the Tatata principle is all about. So that is what the entire thing is. There's this very interesting story of Dionys. So he is this. This story is actually a Buddhist story which goes around. So every person who's talking about happiness might have come across this story. So there's this guy called Dionys. He's walking around naked in the jungle, right? So he is caught by Raja ka Sipahis, right? And he's taken to
Okay.
the and he's like they tell him, you need to be punished for this, and he said okay. He says okay. It's like then they go ahead and tell him that you what is the reason that you're doing this? You have no shame. You're and they start calling him names, and he says okay, I accept whatever you say. He's taken to the king. The king actually again reprimands him and starts to announce punishments for him. and he just accepts everything as it is, and people are like really taken aback by that. And they just realize that, okay, this guy has, there's nothing that affects this guy. Right? One is walking around naked. When I'm reprimanding him, he is accepting what he's done is wrong, but he does not show any fear of being punished. But what is wrong with this guy? And that's when he says that, I'm just accepting in these things because yes, there are certain things that maybe, it has not sat well with you because of what I have done, but then this is not something that I can struggle against, right? So I'm accepting it as it is. And this story is kind of one of the analogies that people give, saying to the concept of Takata, saying that, if you are able to accept things as they are, it becomes easy for you to move ahead in that situation. Unless until you don't accept it as they are, it is very, very difficult for you to set the next goal also for yourself.
Right, of course. Um, so is there a way we can use this in today's day and age as a tool? Would you recommend what we could do?
Absolutely. Today's day and age, the situation that all of us are going through, it's a universal thing, right? For the first time in my life,
Yeah,
I actually am coming across something that actually uh, symbolizes Vasudeva Kutumbakam, right? The whole world is a family, and you can see it
yeah,
happening all around so well right now. This collective energies that we feel, a lot of despair is also there, right? A lot of
right,
despair, a lot of I would not actually call it despair. I think despair is a very strong word. I would just call it ambiguity. People are
right,
not really sure about what is going to happen next. Now, in situations like this, the first thing that is accepting the reality in terms of what it is, what is the now for each and every one of us, right? It may be different for everyone. So, what is the now? The second thing is, of course, setting smaller goals. There may be grand vision 2020s that we all had when the year started off. Now we need to
yeah,
take it, break it down. Those vision 2020s may be trickling into vision 2021. Doesn't matter. That the first is
right.
acceptance. The first point is acceptance that this has happened. The second point is setting up the smaller goals and then moving towards a true action. So unless and until you're going to take action and do something about it, the things are not going to improve for you. Right? Even in the psychological terms, positive and negative emotions are ruled. If people have done studies over it, and it is seen that 30% of it, up to 25-30% of it, may be genetics and your upbringing and everything put together, right? 10% is on the situation that you are in, right?
Right.
जैसे it could be anything that मेरा breakup हो गया, मेरा bike पंचर हो गया, मुझे नौकरी
Huh.
नहीं मिली, whatever, right? It could be anything that stresses you out. That is just 10%, and you the if you look at it from the research perspective, it's the 10% that we are giving the maximum amount of weightage to feel good or not, right? We
Right.
attach so
Yes.
much of our happiness to this 10%. There'll be in a lot of cases. It was basically
Yeah.
the situations that you are in. But there is another 40%, right? That people are asking
Correct.
about, the larger chunk, which is basically what is it that is a larger component of what makes people happy, and you will be surprised to know it is their interpretation and the reaction to those situations that makes us happy or does not make us happy. And
So
this
basically,
is,
yeah.
sorry,
Sorry.
please go ahead.
Continue. So basically, what you're saying is that we need to learn to focus on we need to learn to reduce our focus on the negatives that are happening and shift it from that to the positives. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, I will twist it around. I will twist it a little bit in a different way. What I say is, focus on the now, the reality that you have right now, right?
Yeah.
It could be positive, negative, whatever, right? Uh,
Right.
and then try to see if you want to make it better. Now, in this current situation with the ambiguity, I'm very sure that people are feeling stressed up to what is next for me, and that is the
Correct.
thing that is stressing them out. Now, what is next will be answered only if you know what is the now. It's a philosophical thing a little bit, but then it has also got to know. For example, if I am somebody who knows I'm going to lose my job in the next week, for giving you an example. Now, I might lose my sleep. It's all natural reactions to it, right? I'm going to lose
Yeah.
my sleep. I'm going to eat less. All those things will happen. Happiness, we as coaches, we don't tell people saying that you don't need to feel all those things. You have to control all those things. That's not the idea. The idea is to feel all those things, accept what it is, and then deciding. to do something about it. And that's the power of choice that I told you, right? The choice
Right.
that you make to do something about it. Now, if you when you do some decide to do something about it, what is it that you're going to do? I'm going to lose my job, and I know it. I would rather start, searching my job right now. I'll be dividing my day not only into just crying about the fact that I'm going to lose my job, but also maybe a hour or two. I'm also going to put on the resumes. I'm going to reach out to recruiters. I'm going to network. I'm going to look for the hidden job market. There's so many
Right.
ways that you could productively take those step by step things for you to reach that stage or the smaller goal that you've set, right? And that is a reaction to
Right.
what the negativity that you have. So if you react in a good way, you have the power to kind of transform it into a positive experience.
Right. Like basically like goal setting.
Goal setting, yeah. I mean, goal setting is actually very interesting as a concept also, right? So goal setting is actually very important, right? And I'll tell you. So let me tell you one more kissa, right? So I had started off from Pune, and I think I had to reach Indore on that day, and I was riding solo, and I did reach Indore, but I reached 3 hours earlier. Now
Okay.
my goal was to reach Indore at the end of the day. I reached 3 hours earlier, and I just thought that okay, I have achieved my goal. Now I can sit back and relax. One, or I could go a little bit more further because I can. It's the first day and I could push myself, right? So I
Yeah.
pushed a little bit earlier, more, and I did 200 kilometers more, and I reached around Bhopal, and I ended the day there,
Okay.
right? Now, the reason is one of the other things that motorcycling gets you, and that is something that I really love. I, in fact, wrote about that on LinkedIn also today, is the focus that you have. And the focus in the sense that, there are, of course, daily, if it's a longer trip, we have daily places to reach. But it's
Right.
okay. So if you ask a lot of our motors, it's okay if you don't reach there. So that's the mindset that we have, right?
Right. Okay.
And that's the same mindset that I'm talking about when getting to goal setting for my sales coaching clients also. When I speak to them, what I tell them is that it's very important for you to set the goals. Otherwise, you're not going to have those future visions that you want.
Correct.
But don't obsess about the goal. Enjoy the journey. In fact, obsess more about the process. Like the previous example also, like I gave you, right? I'm not. Oh, I know I need to get a job very soon,
Right.
right? But if I'm going to get a job, I need to do X, Y, Z. If I don't do that, then nobody's going to come and knock on my door saying that Sanjeev, यार तू बहुत अच्छा लगता मेरे को ये ले तेरे को 10 लाख की नौकरी देता हूँ मैं. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you need to do X, Y, Z steps, and that is what goal settings paradox is. In fact, that is just to expand it a little bit more. I would want to talk about the concept of karmi yogi that is
Okay.
put in the Bhagavad Gita. So everybody, all of us know what Bhagavad Gita is the story of, right? कुरुक्षेत्र का स्टोरी है. हमारे अर्जुन महारथी अटक जाते हैं सामने. He sees his family and he's not able to use his bravery or his yodha giri over there. But what happens over there is that he has a goal to win the war. But the moment he sees his family in front, he's frozen. And the only thing that the Lord or the universe or Lord Krishna tells him at that time is that focus, forget everything else, focus on what you need to do. You need to first slay X, first then slay Y, then slay Z, and that is how you're going to win the war, right? And you're going to do this, and you're going to accept me as your guiding light and not question anything. Just go step by step and ensure that you win the war, and that's what he does,
Yeah.
right? And that small book with such an easy sounding philosophy, right, but has become the center stage of philosophy for years together, right?
Right.
uh, but it stands on these grounds of karma yoga and dhyan yoga and a lot of stuff putting together. So but karma yogi is one of the major ways of how we can overcome stress nowadays, uh, by focusing on our duties. It places importance on duties and not on your goals alone. So if
Okay.
I have a goal for I'll again come back to the job hunting thing. If I have a goal for finding myself a job, my duty is to sit and search for jobs, put my resume out there, network this. If I'm not able to fulfill my duties and if I'm not doing my karma in a certain way, I'm not going to get the benefits of it.
Right.
So that's how it kind of circles out and comes out with again the point is saying that if you're stressed out, You need to do something about it. You set a goal. Very good. Start doing, put it into action also. And then it gets us back to Aristotle's definition, saying that it is just a accumulation of activities. Happiness is accumulation of activities.
Right. I have a question actually about goal setting, like you mentioned. I understand it on, in life as we knew it, as if we could say. But in the coming few months, especially, we don't our goals could be something which, like I said, like you said, that you have to focus on the path, right? But our path is so undefined right now because of the uncertainty that we have. And we would have goals for ourselves, goals from work the minute people start going back to offices. So how do you deal with it then when the path is only uncertain?
Correct. So that's why I said, you need to. One of the ways that I personally am dealing with this, because it's affect everybody, right?
Yeah.
Is looking to put it from a shorter perspective. So
Okay.
long-term vision, there must be a yearly vision for us, or or a 5-yearly vision for us, or a whole career image for vision that we had, or a life vision that we had. But there are such
Right.
things are kind of changed. The reality in which your ecosystem is now working has changed, right?
Correct.
Yes, there is something that you can control and some things that you can't control, right?
Right.
Now, if I need to get out of this situation, I need to start my immediate focus on things that I'm going to be able to control, right? Which might be my actions, my thoughts. Emotions are kind of a result of what you think, right? My attitude, the networks, whatever I could do to control is something that I should be jumping onto. So if I have a goal,
Right.
and if I have XYZ steps, I will immediately break it down into things that I can control and focus on that. So that gives me razor sharp
Okay.
focus, one. And the second thing is the effect of something external disturbing that flow is not that much. You will still get affected. You will still get affected,
Yeah,
but
of
it will not
course.
be that much. It will not be that much.
Right. Okay. So is there anything you'd like to tell us about how we could imbibe these principles and tools that you've been sharing with us um, in just right now without having to think about like our goals as such, but in the situation that we're in right now?
Yeah. So again, reiterating the same thing, Reva, the one thing that is specifically to just look at what you can control, right?
Right.
Uh, so that is one of the major things that you can really look at in this situation typically, right? Now there are certain
Correct.
things that you can influence and not influence. So just focus on things you could influence and let them out shape, work towards them to work for you. It cannot be a situation where you're also, because of me focusing on things that are out of my control, I am actually losing control of what I can really
Correct.
influence, right? So just keep the
Right.
focus on things that you can control, and then I think you should take it step by step to kind of move out of any situation that you are in right now. And it takes action, it takes discipline.
Right. I think we have a couple of questions, Sanjeev, but for some reason my internet is like we're facing difficulty today. It's being a little slow. Would you be able to see the questions? I think we have some really
Yes,
interesting. I'm going to try
yes.
and
I think I have some comments over here, so let me
yeah,
just
we have some
quickly
comments and okay, so we have a question from Ankur that
unquote.
says, Sanjeev, how to ensure team's performance and happiness with salary cuts due to COVID-19? Oh yeah,
Very
that's a
interesting,
very
Ankur.
interesting one. Yes.
Yeah, so thank you for asking that, Ankur, because as a part of what I do, also we also talk with teams from a team's emotional quotient and emotional happiness perspective also. This is in fact one of the very key questions right now that is going on, and I think one in my last discussion that I had on TLR itself, I had the good fortune of speaking to Dr. Suchi Mittal, and she had also spoken about, and we had discussed about the same thing. One of the major things that we need to look out is one, communication, right?
Right.
uh, a lot of employees are feeling cheated, or are not really responding it in the right in a way, is because they are not being told what the current situation is. The
Correct.
employee is expected to be vulnerable. The employer is also it's also fine if the employer is vulnerable, right? It's a situation itself
Correct.
is like that. If you're communicating in a very clear way, and if you're giving reasons, and if there is a phased out way of doing this, if at all that's possible, that if you can phase out the salary cuts or whatever it is, it gives people to prepare for that. Then I think that is the way to go, rather than just shocking everybody saying that from the next month onwards you're not going to get any just because we are in this situation. So communication is the key, and then taking people along with you is also very important, which will happen if you communicate well.
Right. I mean, just taking the question further, I think it's not just about salary cuts, but I think now that people are working from home and there's so much disconnect. I mean, we've gone from a work environment where we saw everybody all the time to now not seeing people and having to coordinate on the phone. In that situation, then I think how would you say just keeping the team's morale and the happiness within your, even if it's a small team, how do you think people can help in that? Forget the salary cuts. This is without the salary cuts, the dissatisfaction that people are facing.
So that this is so there is this concept called community energies, right? So you need to get onto that. So again, what I'm trying
Okay.
to say is, if there's a smaller team and you're looking at it working from a now these, right, you rightly said that people have been used to having that physical contact and having getting to see each other every day, but now it is not happening right now. So
Yeah.
the only way that you can connect is actually creating a tribe kind of a feeling. So wherever you go, whenever you go for any personal transformation journeys or whatever it is, people speak about tribes rather than teams. So
Right.
because there is a vibe to this word. Whenever you talk about tribe, it automatically means that you're going to look out for each other. That is one of
Right.
the understanding that is there, and everybody's strength is everybody's strength. One person's strength is everybody's strength. One person's weakness is everybody's weakness. So it comes into a cohesive kind of a unit, right? And then they
Right.
work together. So whenever you're working virtually, also you try. The thing is to get into that tribe vibe, right? And you can do things. It can be as simple as starting with a hello, how did your day go? Is your children troubling you? This and that in the first 5 minutes. Okay, you don't
Yeah.
start bombarding the person saying that यार तूने वो डेवलपमेंट करना था तुमको हमको आज रिलीज करना है अभी तक हुआ क्यों
Huh.
नहीं है, right? You give some
Correct.
thought. You everybody is going through the same amount of stress, right? So give that comfort level to get into a good zone, and then people are going to open up and speak about work here. Everybody is passionate about their work, and I am very sure that people, in fact, when they are virtual, they really want to perform well also from an intention perspective. uh, there has to be
Yeah.
trust that the management should have on the team itself. So a tribe vibe and the trust mentality should let see the day through is what I feel.
True. I would just like to tell the viewers that if they have any other questions, please put them in the comments. We will be answering those right now before we move forward. So do let us know. I will also go through some of the questions that we got earlier. Um, so we have a comment, and I think it leads into a question. Happiness is a state of mind and a choice, but does that mean that you force yourself into being positive all the time? Isn't it fair to let our natural emotions vent at least for a while? Especially especially something like crying makes you feel so much lighter in some situations. I think I could, yeah, this is a really interesting question because um, I know that a lot of the times when I am feeling stressed and I feel like my emotions are bottled up, sometimes just venting and crying for like 10 minutes helps me. So do you think that, I mean, should people suppress that emotion? Because I feel like that's it's one, natural to feel that way, and second, important to feel that way as well.
Absolutely, Deva. You have hit the nail on the head. It is one very important to feel that way. The second very important thing is not to suppress it at all. Like I told
Yeah,
you, it's the happiness. So for all the viewers, happiness does not mean the absence of your negative emotions, right? It does not mean that. It only means in a psychological definition way. It means that you're prone to more positive emotions than negative emotions, right?
right,
But like I told you, there's a way that you can convert those negative experiences for you to feel positive emotions,
right.
right? And that is a choice that you make. So again, yes, there may be tons of ways for how people deal with sad situations or layback setbacks in their life. Very good. Those are all stressor, de-stressors, and you should have that. Uh, so if crying is one of the ways, why not? Right? The choice that you need to make is what do you do after you have cried?
Yeah.
Are you gonna sustain crying, crying on the same thing every day for the next 10 years of your life, or are you going to be okay understanding that this is what I feel, and
Right.
I know I can't feel like this forever, and if this is something that I need to change, what is that one thing that I need to change in me?
Right.
And you will find your answers. It's very, very simple, right? If you just answer this one question, that what is it that I need to do to change it, that one thing, what I can do to change this, and I think you should have your answer.
Okay, we have another question here. How can one maintain the happiness in the family during this COVID time where you are loaded with the office work as well as household chores?
Okay, I have to quote one of the posts that your mom Nidhi Sharma had put in, right,
Yeah,
on LinkedIn. So she had described about one of her experiences where there was somebody who told her that for everything that her friend used to tell her husband, he used to tell her only one thing, saying that this child too fast, right?
yeah,
So so basically you need to again do action. It is just about trying to see how. So from the household chores perspective, everybody is supposed to help each other. I don't help my wife too much, so I'm going to start doing that. Okay, but having said that, it is the balance is to actually try to see how we can help each other in the household chores part of it.
right,
If you're married, if you're not, then of course you have to balance it out in terms of giving it in terms of the time in a day that you're going to do the chores, and time in a day that you're going to do the meetings and stuff and all. But specifically for families where the husband and the wife both are working, this is a real great situation. So work wise, you can't change around things. What you can really control again is your household chores. Divide it and give incentives to each other for helping each other. That's what I can say.
But I mean, wouldn't you say, like, for example, in situations where, like you said, a husband and wife are working and there are children in the house as well, and you have to not only, like, you're managing work, I think there is, a sense of frustration that kind of comes in between everybody because there's so much you need to handle at one time. I think that's probably what the question was kind of aiming at, that it's not just about balancing the work and the house chores, but the fact that because we're loaded with so much work suddenly, how do we maintain that feeling of happiness in the family and not let it lead to frustration?
Yeah, I mean, see, one thing is accepting and trying to make everybody aware. It is very difficult to control and convince your children.
Yeah,
So of course that's not possible. But then at members and everybody who understands that you're working along with the fact that you're going to be doing the the helping out with the household chores or the other things at home. It's
yeah,
very important for them to understand, for each other to understand that there are deliverables on the job also, right? If you're not
correct.
going to do this, then people are not going to be paid, people are not going to be because life is not stopped in a certain way. It is just
Right,
it's a comma, it's not a full stop that has happened, right?
right,
uh, the de-stressor for families is to understand each other and again the same thing in terms of the formula could be applied to larger teams, it could be applied to even families, right? The same thing is that understanding what is the right situation, what is the current situation, and then seeing what are the XYZ steps could be taken to kind of balance it out. Stressors may
right,
keep happening. That if I am right now speaking to you, both my daughters come running and jump on me, my immediate reaction will be a stressed
right,
out
of
one.
course. Yeah,
But maybe after a couple of 10 seconds, I realize that yeah, I am a happiness coach. I should smile for the audience. I'll just start smiling and everything will be okay. Just kidding. Yeah, so it's that those things are going to happen, right? So the idea is to again, and also you can also sensitize the workplace regarding how your situation is at home, specifically your immediate managers, right?
yeah.
So they are also kind of understanding in a certain way. That maybe for Sanjeev this is a situation, the right time to speak to him maybe on calls is this and whatever. So it can't work out every time, but at least most of the times if that works out, people will be not stressing each other out virtually that's as much.
Yeah, I think that's like a mutual understanding between just not only your family but also your colleagues
Correct.
is important. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think we're nearing the end of our session here,
Yeah.
Sanjeev. So I'm going to again ask the audience if they have any more questions to put them in, and we will answer those. But from your end, do you have anything that you would like to tell our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, see, I mean, there are, so this is, of course, a very stressful time for all of us. But like I told you,
Yeah,
happiness is not something that, you can wait, you need to wait for. It is something that you need to achieve in a certain way, right? And you are achieving it for yourself and not for anybody else. So keep doing, working towards it. Put smaller goals on yourself. Don't put pressures. Anyways, your workplace is there to put those pressures on you with some goals.
yeah,
Don't put yourself burn yourself out with a lot of other stuff you needed to do personally or in anywhere, and that is not happening now. Things will shape up eventually, and this is not something from a positive thinking that I'm telling. It's a natural curve, it's whatever goes down will come up, whatever goes up will come down. That's the way of life.
yeah,
But focus on things that you can control. Make a decision whether you want to stay in a negative state of mind or you want to move out of that positive state of mind. And if you want to really move out of that positive state of mind, what is it that you're going to do? And then focus on that particular thing that you have decided that, this is my action. So if you have an
right.
action plan put in, I think everybody could have their own individual escapades from the situation.
But when you're talking about action plans, I actually used to have this problem where I am like an avid, I wouldn't say like if I come into a situation where I don't know what to do, I will just write my steps down on how to achieve it. But often what used to happen was I would write so many steps, I would do none of them. Because you'd feel energetic all of a sudden and think, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I would make a full schedule and a plan, and I wouldn't ever really follow through with it. What I have personally learned in the past few months, or maybe like the past year or so, is that I think it's more important not just to have a plan, but to have a sustainable plan to understand what we can and cannot practically achieve. Because I think that will also help a lot with just minimizing the feeling of disappointment, I guess. Because, there's so many times when you put so much down on paper and you don't achieve any of it, um, it's a low feeling that you have. So I think that's something from my end that I would like to recommend people do, that when you're making a plan, try and make it sustainable for yourself as well.
Absolutely. And again, see, one of the other things that you need to realize is, all the plans, everything in the world is going to be fluidic. So,
Yeah,
and that particular point in time, maybe you had 50 steps for you to get to your goal. But
yeah,
if you're not doing that, you're not disciplined. And there is this word called, so I have chanced upon this word called discipline, right? So
okay,
basically, discipline means uh, the discipline that you have in doing those steps for you to feel blissful, right? So if you are going to if you are committed to yourself, you will focus on discipline. You will be doing those steps necessary. And of course, like you said, maybe you might be expecting that you might doing a lot of steps together, but it's not possible every time. But don't
yeah,
stress out again, right? Agar aaj ek step reh gaya, kal kar lo. But then make sure that you're doing it. The idea is that we actually get stressed because we also put a timeline to that goal, right? कि मुझे 6 महीने में ये करना है. Maybe that is the thing.
right,
It's a good way of goal setting. But if you don't do maybe XYZ steps every day, right?
yeah,
Then maybe you're not going to reach it in 6 months. You might reach it in 8 months, but still you'll reach.
yeah,
But if you're not going to be disciplined with yourself, you're not going to be able to sustain that action.
right, of course, agreed. Um, so somebody also said, if I find happiness in something when I am stressed, am I being selfish?
Yeah, why not? You can be selfish, right? It is so, if you're stressed out and if you're going through a rough patch, it is you who is going through that rough patch. Be selfish for a little bit. It's all a part of self love. So understanding and accepting the downs and the things that make you happy, do it. But do it. I would also say that do it in a certain way which is not affecting others as much as possible. That's when it comes across as you being obnoxious or snobbish or whatever. When people call a lot of names for people who are being in a certain way selfish, like I think Smita, right? Smita has asked, right? But it's okay to be
Yeah,
selfish for if you're feeling bad and if you know that this is something that makes me feel good and I need to be alone for some time. Be alone for some time, but don't bother others in the process. Try and not bother others in the process.
Well, this is really funny thing that I've noticed that a lot of people actually find happiness in stressful situations. Like for a lot of people, having that, I guess, the high of the like how the energy becomes suddenly higher when the situation is slightly stressful. A
Right.
lot of people find their happiness being in those stressful situations as well. Um, so, what would you want to say to people like that?
So there are in fact four modes of happiness. Okay, there is not
Okay.
four modes of happiness actually. There are four zones of happiness. Uh, so typically, it's very difficult for me to help you. So let me just a minute. I'll just pull out. It was there on my diary. Okay, and I just wanted to share this thing with the viewer if they can see this
I'm
one.
not sure.
Can you
Yeah,
see this?
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So on the y-axis, you have positive emotions that you feel, and yes or no, the degrees of vision,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
The kind of people that you are talking about fall in the avoidance zone, if I have to call it that way. Basically, I feel good, but I'm not going to take any action because I don't know what to do with that feeling good factor, right? So if there are in situations, there are people who will feel good in every situation, but maybe they are genetically designed happy, or that is the response or the defense response in terms of how they deal with situations. But the key is whether they are still not stressed or still are they stressed, right? If you answer this question, you will find that maybe if people who are happy in every situation are also as susceptible to stress as people who are not happy in every situation. So there are zones of happiness and you keep revolving around this depending on what the situations are. If आज के दिन पे मेरा negative emotions मुझ पे भारी पड़ रहा है, तो I'm not going to be somebody who is going to be there in the growth zone, right? So that's that's how you have to understand that people who are toxically positive always also
Yeah.
are prone to stress.
Right.
So
I think somebody's also asked us, so discipline will facilitate completion of things that are planned, but uh, what if you just can't get yourself to do the do the planned activities? How do you get over that? So I think basically she's trying to ask that while we have set goals and plans for ourselves, but what happens when you can't, when you're, I guess, feeling lazy or you're procrastinating or you're just not in the mood to do it? How do you fix that?
absolutely. So yes, you need to pull up your socks and be disciplined for yourself. Because like I told you, if the actions are not going to be taken, you're not going to achieve your goals. And if you're not going to achieve your goals, you're going to feel stressed. The next time you're going to put the same goals for yourself, you're going to give the reason or the rationale to yourself saying that this is not going to work for me because मैंने बहुत बार try कर लिया नहीं होने वाला मुझसे. But you fail to realize that uh, what we didn't do last time was not the lack of motive, but it was a lack of action. So Karmi Yogi Bano is what I have to tell, I think, Sharmishta.
Yeah, so I think somebody's answered her question, said put short-term targets and incentives for yourself for achieving those milestones. I think that is a smart way to look at it as well.
Absolutely.
Just to have like, take it one step at a time rather than trying to do everything all at once.
That is
And
why I
also
said that,
I
sorry, please go ahead.
no, and also something you said earlier, like it's okay to not achieve the short targets or to fall short of something. I think understanding and being okay with that is important as well.
Absolutely. So let me give you one example of myself, right? And I quit my job a couple of years back. That was the last job that I was into, and for the next 6 or 7 months, I took a sabbatical. I was riding around a little bit in the country. I came back and then I started thinking what I should do now, and that's when I decided, let me try and open up a venture which is going to put motorcycling and employee engagement and team building together. It sounded like a brilliant idea. A lot of efforts and thoughts went into it. A lot of emotions went into it. It was a big risk. I just took it. It was, and towards the beginning of the year, things started shaping up, and and when I was about to get my initial two orders, COVID hit. Right
Oh,
now, the thing is that the for the initial 2 weeks, of course, I was taken aback, and I myself was a little bit jolted in terms of what I needed to do. I mean, this is And the reality that I could gather was not the fact that it was hit me. The reality was that motorcycling as a team building event is it's even more far-sighted idea right now, because people are not going to be ready to one send
Travel.
people in a travel in a group, right? As a That's a decision that you needed to take. So immediately, just putting out the thing was that, what do I do next? That is when I started thinking about a lot of other stuff, and I realized that I've been anyways helping certain companies on the side for sales coaching. So I made that. I was trying to make one step is to try and make that the forte. I wanted to author something for a very long time, so I started working on that. I'm already working on a book called The Sales Yogi, which talks about the concepts of Karma Yoga and Dhyan Yoga, and it kind of builds around the entire same concept of what I'm trying to tell the audience even now today, is that, work on the actions and not obsess about the plans, right? And then it also gave me an opportunity to come on, uh, networks like TLR, speak to you, speak to Dr. Suruchi, and meet some amazing people. But those are
Yeah.
all short steps, like Vikram, if I'm not mistaken, that Vikram has put in. These are all small steps that I've taken. And if you ask me now, in a couple of months' time, I'm not feeling that negative emotion that I felt when all the plans of 1.5 years went down the drain, just a
Yeah.
couple of months back. Right. So you have to just pull up your socks and do those necessary small steps. Uh,
And also, I guess, improvise. I mean, your story
improvise.
sort of reminds me of mine. I am supposed to be studying this year. I decided that I'm going to take a break from working. I was working for 3 years, and I
Right.
decided that I'm going to, pursue my higher education. And before that, I'll take a 4 month break and travel. But the minute it just so happened that the day it was my last day of work, we basically went into lockdown, and all my travel plans obviously got cancelled. So I think for me, the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks almost was very hard because I wasn't sure how to go forward with this, because it's basically, like I wanted a break, but this is not the break that I wanted. So I went ahead and I started my YouTube channel, where I've spoken about my anxiety and those negative emotions that I felt there as well. But I think channeling, or just kind of improvising and saying that, okay, right now I can do this, and then we'll take it from here, helped me a lot, because one, it gave me a purpose, and also it gave me like and something to do in this time where I can't do anything else. So just, I
Correct.
guess, it's important to also learn to improvise in stressful situations.
So true, so true. Even that reminds me of, so I had gone through this quest on Mind Valley. So Mind Valley, of course, everybody knows what it is. And over there on this quest, the teacher was Dr. Michael Beckwith, and he says that, whenever you're faced with situations that you don't are struggling to get through, things that you can't influence, similar to what we all are going through right now, you have to
Yeah.
answer just one question, and that will help you. And the question is, if this continues forever, what is it that I need to teach myself, or what quality do I need to imbibe to survive?
Right.
Right? And it could be anything. It could be a decision saying that I'm going to think positive. Now that is my
Right.
decision. It could be a decision saying that, I am going to move places. I'm going to take it online. I'm going to do this. There are X many things that you need to take. So
Yeah.
if you answer this question, whenever you're in situations where mostly that you can't influence, I think you're a way out. Then,
Right.
like you said, improvise.
Okay, so I think we're almost now, it's 6 o'clock. I think we've finished an hour of talking. Would you like to tell us some last thoughts about how people can stay happy or choose to be happy, and like the must-haves of happiness?
Yeah, there's no formula, but then only thing that, we I won't want to tell you guys is, everybody listening to it again is going to be about goal setting, and not to be obsessed with the goals but with the process. And if you decide that, you're going to be happy, you're going to be happy through actions and not just plans. It is, yes, a state of mind and emotion, but there's something that you can influence to actually get for you. And that is why we have written the topic also, saying that even if you're stressed, you can still be happy.
Yes.
Because being stressed does not mean being happy does not mean that you cannot be stressed at the same time. Like
Right.
I was stressed, I'm stressed all through this. I'm stressed saying that my internet will conk off again.
Yeah.
but yeah, I am happy. Okay, so it's the same thing. So please understand happiness is a choice, and please make it for yourself. Is what I want to tell you.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjeev, for
My pleasure,
this
Reva.
talk that we had. I'm going to tell the audience to put down their questions on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're watching this. And I'm sure Sanjeev will be very happy to answer all of your questions in the comments as well. This was our 15th edition of the AMA that TLR is doing. I'm sure they're coming up with lots more in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Follow TLR on all the pages so that you stay updated. And thank you for being a great audience. Bye.
Thank you, Reva. Thank you all. Have a good time. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.